There's hiring managers at both conferences. If you're going to go, and I tell people, I had a couple of people comment about being introverted, try talking to people at Target, going to the gym, at just random people, Starbucks, etc. That's how you build up. That's a skill set to have. Having that skill set is going to allow you into some places that people can't get in, right? Different circles, different areas, and those circles have other circles that could get you in. Especially if you go on your own as a consultant or a business, that's avenues in, right? Because you're already known, you already have build those relationships and trust factors. So you have to take advantage of it, and you have to build up that skill.
Hi, I'm Kyser Clark, and welcome to The Hacker's Cache, the show that decrypts the secrets of offensive security one bite at a time. Every week, I invite you into the world of ethical hacking by interviewing leading offensive security practitioners. If you are a penetration tester, bug bounty hunter, red teamer, or blue teamer who wants to better understand the modern hacker mindset, whether you are new or experienced, this show is for you. Welcome to the show. Today, I have Paul Nieto, who has 22 years of security experience. He started in physical security and is now in cybersecurity and currently works as a full-time penetration tester. He also creates YouTube videos under the OX3 security channel. For certifications, Paul has the CBBH, the CPTS, the CRTO, the PMPT, the OSCP, and he also has the Dante and Rasa Labs from Hack the Box, the Pro Labs. So, Paul, thank you so much for taking your time to do this episode with me. Go ahead and unpack your experience and introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Kyser. It's a pleasure being here. Name is Paul Nieto. I use the number 3 as my suffix just to keep my identity away from my dad. Not that it's a bad thing, but I wanted to build my own self from where I'm from. Like Kyser said, I've been in physical security, workplace services, facilities, whatever they want to brand it as. Started in 2005. Security, as far as physical, started in 2002. And pretty much has always been a hybrid in security, whether that's physical and on the cyber side of things, building out physical security red teams, and then also finally making that transition in the last 3 years to the cyber side. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Been my career, and just been pretty consistent in trying to maintain and be ahead of the trends and curves and learning and burying myself with certifications going forward.
So, why did you go from physical security to pen testing and cybersecurity?
I get asked that question a lot. The honest answer is the way my mindset was, and I to give a little background and context. I've always been into the ethical hacking, offensive security side of things. In 1999, my junior year, I had San Jose PD show up to my high school because I used to boot people's DirecTV and Dish Network cards. So I've always been in that kind of mindset, concept, doing those type of things. So the thing why I switched is because the mentality of physical security is looked down upon as a red team, right? So let's just say an example. If I'm doing a project management and I'm scoping out a system, a $5.5 million system for a campus, for a 500,000 square foot campus, the best practices for them is just spot and dots, access control camera or access control readers, cameras, et cetera. That's it. Call it a day. Root out the box for your cameras, which are now IoTs devices. My mindset is how can I break in and better harden these systems? While physical security mainly, and I am prior military, so I'm not talking crap. They have, and law enforcement, they have that mindset where, oh, it's nothing's going to happen. Why do you have that kind of mindset? Why do you think like a criminal? That was looked frowned upon, and I didn't like that, right? So as a time hit by 2014, I had an opportunity to make that switch, but I didn't because I was comfortable. But overall, that is the reason why I did make that switch. It just felt like I was just stuck and I couldn't advance anymore. And after a while, you can only do so much in physical security. It's just maintaining the machine pretty much at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can understand why you want to pivot, especially like you said with the military and law enforcement people saying, "Oh, why would you want to think like a criminal?" Like it's to me, it's obvious. Like, well, if you want to beat your adversary, you have to think like your adversary.
Yes.
But I can see why some people might not be able to think that way, which is unfortunate. So you got bored. So you kind of got bored with physical security. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I got bored, especially at the time of box when I finally made that transition. COVID just pretty much just made the switch for me to move, and it was a perfect icing on the cake scenario. And I did it. And I had a lot of people at Box that told me, dude, you should do it. Why aren't you pulling the trigger kind of thing? And yeah, like I said, COVID made everything just happen, and it just happened naturally.
What would you say to someone, cuz when you say you got bored with your career, I think that might resonate with a lot of people, especially me. Like, how do I know I'm gonna like pen testing for 30 more years? So when you got bored with physical security and transferred into cybersecurity, there's similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. Like, how did you make the decision? Like, it's time for me to switch, and more importantly, like, how did you like deal with the reality of like kind of giving up everything you built up to that point? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of overlapping skills, but it's still a new industry, a new field at the same time.
I guess for me, the thing that kept me going, and I see when I get bored, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna be at the bar hanging out with the girls, stuff like that, right? And like I said, physical security, you can only do so much, which is the honest truth. It's gonna stop, and it's gonna top off. So the way my mindset is and the way I think is, I need to be challenged. Where the red team, and I already had that mindset, doing stuff on the side as hobbies, and also going in for my thought process for physical security. I needed something to challenge me every day. Now that on the flip side, that turns me into a crazy animal because I'm constantly on Hack the Box, learning Sector 7 in the morning, C Sharp for 0 point security, CRTO2. So I'm constantly on the grind, being accountable and showing up. So that for me is what made that happen. But yeah, that's the best I could say it.
Okay, yeah, because yeah, sometimes I wonder like, am I gonna be able to do cybersecurity and pen testing for 30 years? Like I keep
Well,
telling
for
myself, yeah,
that,
but like,
the thing with that, so touch on that for some more context. Where the difference is where cybersecurity and pen testing, red teaming, whichever route you go, or even what for that matter, they're always going to change with the technology, and that's changing so fast. So you're always, like I said, you always have to be on top of the curves and the trends, or else you're going to die off, be legacy, right? Whereas physical security, I mean, like I said, after a while, after you reach so much, I mean, you could do all branches of physical security, and that's it. You plateau, right? Unless there's some active shooter or something crazy, and you've actually had that stress factor scenario where you can put that on your resume. Other than that, I mean, you can't really go so far. So as far as that, I don't see how someone could get bored. Now, if someone does get bored, it's either a managerial problem or a corporate, or their where they're working at issue.
okay, yes, that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned offline that some people ask you about your age and how how to transfer career fields into cyber when you're older. What are the challenges you face, and what would you say to someone who might be older that wants to get in this field that's already an existing career field that's probably even more different than what physical security, like, for example, let's say they're like a doctor, a lawyer, or like a construction worker, like something that's like completely not related to cyber. What would you recommend to them?
Yeah, so I'll touch on a lot of people that come from my background, workplace services, facilities. Number one, you got project and program management right off the bat. You got procurement, right? Cyber teams don't really have that. They unless it's a bigger organization, they'll have a PMO team. So unless that happens, you could bring that skill set and utilize that under the red team, under the blue team, et cetera, right? To do procurement process for RFPs for like bringing in CrowdStrike, SentinelOne, et cetera. So, and then also, the procurement side, working with whatever teams you have to work with within your organization to bring those companies in, vendors in, doing the GRC process, third party security vendors, risk assessments, et cetera, right? And also a managerial process. Soft skills is big, right? A lot of people in cybersecurity don't have that. They're real introverted, as we talked about offline. So those right there are skills that are key to bring in to the table right off the bat.
Yeah, yeah, we did talk about introvert and extroverts offline, and I told you I'm introverted. People might shock some people because I got a whole podcast and stuff, but I am. And one of the best comments I ever got from one of my clients after I gave them a pen test was like, "Hey, you know your technical stuff, but you can explain it well." And I was like, "Wow, that means a lot to me because
Yeah.
because it's not easy to talk to people, especially when you're talking about like when you take complex security issues and you boil them down to something so simple. But I would say that skill sharpened for me in the military when I was in cyber defense operations, which is mostly an IT role with like security baked in. And I'm end user support, and I have to like someone in leadership calls me and they're like, "Hey, my whatever's not working, my email, my printer," and I have to explain like why it's not working or and then fix it, and then or like if I can't fix it, I have to explain why I can't fix it. I'm like, oh, there's like this thing that's in the way and this
Yep.
policy or whatever. So I got really good at talking to non-technical people because the first thing people would always tell me when they call my shop was like, I'm not good with this computer stuff, and they have to explain it. So that's how I built up that skill. I'm excited to announce that memberships are now live for my YouTube channel. And if you decide to become a member, you'll get early access to videos, access to member-only polls, loyalty badges for the YouTube channel chat, and priority reply to the YouTube comments. Of course, if you can't or don't want to become a member, that is totally fine. I will always release the same free content you come to expect, and your support just by watching is more than enough to keep the channel going. But for those who do join, your contribution helps invest into new tools, technologies, and people to help the channel go further. The goal is to create even more content and raise the quality of every video for everyone. Thank you for considering memberships, and as always, thank you so much for your support. Moving on, let's go ahead and do the rapid fire questions. So, for those who are new to the show, Paul will have 30 seconds to answer 5 questions. And if he answers all 5 questions, he will get a bonus 6 question not related to cybersecurity. So, Paul, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I actually been practicing. This is a life hack, by the way, guys. I've been practicing like just leaving my phone in the other room, like not checking my room. That's how you get work done, by the way. Like, do not put your phone. And I don't have my phone here, so I'm gonna use my stopwatch on my computer. But yeah, phones in the other room, like ultimate life hack to get stuff done.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I don't reply to half people's messages because it sucks me in. Like, cause I'll get like if I get in, like I'm in. Like I'm easily distracted. That's another topic for another day. All right, here we go. Your time will start after I finish asking the first question.
All right.
Paul, what is the best way to learn about new exploits?
The best way to learn about new exploits would be reading articles on Medium, in my opinion.
Do you think passwordless authentication is the future?
Yes.
Favorite training platform?
Hack the box.
Is it better to be a specialist or a generalist?
Specialist.
Are people born with hacking skills or are they learned?
Both.
You got 28 seconds. That's pretty good. That is obviously before 30, so you've unlocked the bonus question. So the bonus question, completely unrelated to cybersecurity, and you can explain your answer as much or as little as you want to. So here it is. Is it acceptable to wear socks with sandals?
No. Coming from me being born and raised in California, no. I don't know how people do that in Texas, especially in the summer. It makes no sense to me. Yeah, that's definitely a no. I just don't get that in the summer, especially. It makes no sense.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. I think it's a little weird when I see other people doing it. I've never personally done. Matter of fact, I don't really wear sandals at all. I usually avoid it. I think the only time I ever will wear sandals is if I'm going to the beach, which as someone who lived in Ohio for their first 24 years of life
Yeah.
and someone who lived in Alaska for the last 4 years, I haven't been on the beach much. I went on a few vacations, but yeah, that's the only time I ever wear sandals, I would say, if I'm going on the beach. I'm just not a sandals person, but it's usually I mean, it's like 7 degrees outside right now. It's like not
Oh
sandal
yeah.
weather.
Yeah, I'm more flip flop, but not sandal or the slides, whatever they call them. Yeah.
Yeah, slides and flip flops. I mean, to me, it's all sandals. Like I think they're all flip flops and all slides are sandals, but not all sandals are slides and flip flops.
Yeah, definitely no socks with flip flops. I don't know how people do that either. That feels like it'll hurt, but
All right, so I think your most interesting response was you said best way to learn new exploits. You said Medium articles.
for me, yeah, that's how I started to learn them. Yes, yeah, because I was doing that on my own, really on my own. I had a friend go over them with me for a while, but yeah, I just started digging in, learning them, and then going to the GitHub route, going on YouTube, then reaching out to friends if I needed help with anything.
Now, so when you say medium articles, are you referring to like brand new exploits? Let's say like CVE 2025 dash whatever. Like you talking about like brand new exploits that come out like CVEs, or are you just talking about like learning new to you exploits?
Oh, like learning how to do like I thought you were talking about learning how to do the actual exploit, or like just learning about it in general.
It don't. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out which one you like, which way you interpret it. It don't really matter. I'm just curious. Either way,
Yeah,
I'm actually
I was
interested.
doing it from a starting off standpoint, like get breaking into it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. For me, I mean, I learn a lot of these certifications. I'm a kind of person. I just need some kind of structure, right? Because
Yeah,
certifications make me like, hey, we're gonna learn about this, and it's like, well, why do I want to learn this? And it's like, well, because I said so. If you want to get the cert, then you gotta learn this. So certificate. That's what it gets. That's one of the reasons why I like certification so much. I don't have. I would say my curiosity is probably not as high as it should be as an ethical hacker because like when I see those Medium articles, I'm like, oh, this is cool, but I don't I don't dive into those like just for fun. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
don't. I would only dive into those if I want a pen test and I'm like, oh, Nestle's pop for this exploit. Let me see if I can find a POC code for this or something. Or like if I'm on a cert exam, like I'm doing OSCP and I see like, oh, this version's out of date. Let me see if I can find a POC. And by the way, for those who don't know, POC is a proof of concept code. So yeah, I would say my go-to certifications, but yeah, Medium is a great way because people write a lot and explain things very well, and
that's
that's actually
true.
a good way to stand out from the crowd is just make content and make technical articles or
Yeah,
videos or something. And then another question we're gonna dive. So I want to do two for one this episode because this was actually a question someone recently asked on my YouTube channel. So the is it better to be a specialist or generalist? And for me, I mean, I don't know if I'm a specialist or generalist. Like I'm a specialist because I'm a pen tester and that's like what I do. And I don't want to be like cyber defense. I don't want to be a network engineer or it's pen tester or not or nothing. But at the same time, I like to do web apps and networking. That's kind of in a way I'm a generalist, you know what I mean? I like to do web apps and networking. So what can you say like for people who are trying to become a pen tester and like should they focus on only network? Should they focus only on web apps? Is there and what's the pros and cons to, learning both or combining them as a single skill set?
yeah. So for the generalist or specialist, again, I would start off with the least the networking side, external, internal network, and web apps. That for me, that's going to be the core. You're going to utilize those for both. Now, if you want to get into like RFID, IoT hacking, that's more niche, more specialist. NFC, car hacking, etc. So I would do that. Um, if you're looking for that, I would go more the specialist route. Now, if you want to up your career going to a manager, even director level, then you're going to have to be the generalist, understanding those, being able to understand and present those vulnerabilities, finding, et cetera, and meetings to C-suite level. So it depends on your career route where you want to go. To be honest,
Yeah. Yeah, and I like being a journalist as in that like I'm a network tester and a web app pen tester. There's people on my team that are only network testers or only web app testers, and I believe I add a lot of value to my company because they can put me on either or, and that's mostly
yeah,
what we get to network and web apps. I did do a wireless assessment for the first time last month, and that was really cool.
nice.
The OSWP was a good certification to learn how to do a web application. Sorry, a wireless assessment, and being someone on the team that like one of the only people that knew how to do wireless tests, it came in clutch. And another thing that I might be looking into is getting the IoT hacking because we might have a client that needs IoT hacking, and I might get I don't know what it's the practical IoT hacking
TCM,
certification from
yeah,
TCM. And so I'm thinking about getting that because my company needs it, and we have a customer that's gonna want some IoT pen testing done, and no one on the team has that. And I'm like, well, I'll step up to the plate and learn it. I mean,
I hear that's a good
it,
one, by the way.
that's good to hear because still haven't heard anything bad from TCM. TCM, if you're listening to this, you're watching this, you're killing it. I've never heard anybody say anything bad.
Good, yeah, from my experience as well.
The only thing I said negative about TCM security certs was that they just don't show up on a lot of job applications or job postings, which is true, and I think it's going to change. I think
Yeah,
like in the near future, I think it's going to change because everyone loves them. Like all
yep,
the people in the field are loving them, and as the people like who are getting in the field now, once these people start becoming managers, I think like once those people start becoming managers, the TCM certs are going to be in the job postings when people who are went through that content start to post the jobs, and start to do the interviews and stuff.
that's true. Yeah, and managers also need to start doing their own requisitions, not just having the HR recruiter or HR business partner copy and paste from what they see from their friends, et cetera. So that's also another issue too.
Yeah, that's a whole discussion in itself. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, because they're just copying and pasting job postings from their competitor. Like, what do we want? I don't know. Yeah, the job postings are, I don't know, a little weird, and that's why networking is so important. Because if you can
yep.
avoid the portal, especially at Workday, dude, have you ever done a application on Workday?
Dude, yeah, it's I'm not a fan of it. I don't know. Are you?
No, absolutely not. It's
Yeah,
the
I'm
worst. They're
not.
like give us your resume and then fill out the same stuff that's already on your
Yep.
resume.
And sometimes
Also,
if you do a PDF, it doesn't even upload correctly. You got to go back and
yeah,
change some stuff.
yeah, and then it's like, also, you need to create an account for every company you
Yeah,
apply to. Like, why can't you just keep my data one time? If Workday just kept my data one time, then and I could just use that same information to apply to multiple positions. Man, that was so annoying, and I hope I don't have to do that again. So, staying on the topic of web app and versus network pen test, what are you seeing more often in the real world? Are you seeing more networks or more web apps?
I'm seeing more web apps to be honest. From where I'm at, yeah, more web apps and API. Networking, it's there, internal, external, obviously, but we're running tools like Horizon. There's other tools like NetSpy, Pantera, now BreachLock, which is really good as well. But they're utilizing it, doing mainly more of the automation stuff. However, it's not the end all be all. Just to let that out there for everyone. So yeah, that's going to be mainly more from, at least from my experience and in my opinion, web and API right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I mean, for me, it's almost 50-50. I feel like it's slightly in a favor of web apps and APIs.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I started getting the web apps and APIs is because when I got my internship, my SkillBridge internship, only had OSCP. I could only really do, and I did Hack the Box and nothing really to do with web apps. And they're like, "Hey, we need you to learn web apps," and that's what prompted me to get into web apps. And it paid off for me because the company I'm at now, I got in the technical interview, and half the interview was networking based questions, and the other half of the interview was web app.
Yep.
And the fact that I studied both disciplines really helped me break into my current role because
Nice.
I think having both is opens up more doors for you. But there is a lot of value in specializing because then you can be a true expert. Honestly, I don't think there's a right answer. It's really just what you want to do. I think is the best way to approach it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I heard you mention like you don't like multiple choice certs, and I understand why you like practical certs. Matter of fact, like I've been pursuing practical certification myself. But for beginners, do you still think multiple choice certs have their place?
Uh, I do, but not in pen testing.
Mm.
I would say that would be more for the GRC roles, just because that's going to fall under, from previous experience in physical security, more business continuity, crisis management, disaster recovery, right? Because that's going to be more of a consulting role, because each organization is going to be different. So you got to have your baseline foundation, right? So, like for instance, GoPro is not going to be the same as Facebook, where they're not going to be the same as Apple, right? They're going to require different things, different audits, different compliances. So I can see the multiple choice there. But as far as pen testing, no, I don't see the value in it at all.
Interesting. I think I do like multiple choice search for beginners, even if they want to be a pen tester,
Oh yeah,
because uh, if I didn't have if I didn't have a ton of certifications for one after OSCP would have I would have just not even have been pursued it. I would have been like, this is too much. When I was like reading through OSCP content, when watching the videos, when they say VPN, like I already know what a VPN is. I know how it works. When they say TCP/IP, like I already know what that is, just because I studied the certifications that were multiple choice. Plus, I had to, I wrote a report today, and I feel like because I read the books and because I understand the terms and definitions, I can write a better report. You know what I mean? So I think they have a place, but I can understand like why you wouldn't like them. And
well, for context,
I
just to be
definitely think
clear,
like if you want to be
so for context, just to be clear, I say that because there, for an actual true beginner, there really isn't one off the bat, right? CEH is what, over 3 grand. SANS is over 8 grand, 8 9 grand just for the course. Plus, you got to pay another 1 grand for the exam. So, someone coming out of college or learning it out of high school, they more than likely they won't be able to afford that. So, if there was one true beginner cert that's affordable, like TCM, if they could pull that off, then I'll be all for it. For a beginner, hell yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and to finish what I was saying there, like I definitely think like if you only have multiple choice certs, I don't think then you're really gonna survive as a pen tester
No.
unless you've actually done some labs. Like if you build a home lab and you know how to
Yeah.
you know, like if you've done the hands-on stuff and on your own and you didn't have a certificate, that's one thing. But if you think like a CEH is going to land a pen testing role, you're sadly mistaken. And
Exactly.
that's what I thought the CH was like, "Oh, that's like the ticket in." And then when I started doing more research, I was like, "Oh, this is not the ticket in." And matter of fact, my CH expires in 15 days, and I'm seriously
Oh,
considering just letting it
got to get those
expire.
PPEs, right?
Yeah, well, it doesn't expire. It just they make you pay for every year. It's $80 a year.
Oh,
So
I
it's
didn't know that.
like yeah, it's $80 a year. So and it's good for another year, but you still have to pay for it every year. And it's like the worst thing. It's like, why do I gotta pay $80 for this? So I think I'm gonna ask my company, I'm like, hey, do you guys want to pay for this? If they say no, I'm just gonna let it slide.
Expensive.
I'm just gonna let it go. If
Yeah.
they say yeah, then I'll keep it going. It's not a good cert. I don't like it. Matter of fact, I have a meme video coming out here soon that's kind of dog down a little bit. I'm looking forward to it. So in your latest video on YouTube, you talking about conferences. I didn't watch that video. Can you give me a review on like what you're doing? Because you're in the video. I'm just like, going off the title. It was like your 2025 conference plan. So what are your 2025 conference plans?
Yeah. So I like going back to the Bay Area because that's my where I'm from. I call it my home, and then I end the conferences at my home here in DFW, B sides. So I like going to RSA, meeting with my old tech buddies that I used to work with. Kind of get some quote unquote insider trading on what's going to happen with some of the tech industries, not stock market stuff. So and again, just like meeting everyone, just catching up and stuff like that. And then also, going to do some B sides in San Antonio, going back to Black Hat and DEF CON. And I always tell people DEF CON, Black Hat and RSA are more of the networking, more managerial, more that type. Whereas DEF CON for me, I stated in my video, as soon as I get my badge, that's the that day. That's the final day of Black Hat. I don't drink alcohol because I take DEF CON serious. And this year I'm going to be more involved, like doing some CTFs and stuff like that. So there's no happy hours or none of that stuff. And then after that, some B sides. Like I said, I'm going to try to go to the Romania B sides with a couple buddies, but I got to pull off a sitter. But pretty much in that video too is what it's telling people. Go to your local B sides. You don't need to spend the money, the 2 3 grand for Black Hat RSA to network. Start off local. And that's pretty much what it does.
Yeah, and I mean everyone says go to conferences, and I've only been to one conference, and it wasn't even really like one of the big ones. It was AWS reinforced. It's more of like a um, cloud security certification. And as a pen tester, I just felt completely out of place. I didn't find a single other pen tester there. They're like, what do you do? I'm a pen tester. Like, what do you do? Everyone's a security engineer, like, or a cloud engineer. And I mean, I had a lot of fun. It was pretty cool, but I definitely need to make my way into some more pen testing and hacking conferences and like other cybersecurity conferences. So when it comes to conferences, like what is the value? Is it just networking? Like, do you really get a lot of value out of it? Because I've seen some hot takes out there that says like people tend to like not network as much as they think they're gonna do, and they just kind of stick with their friends. Like,
Yeah, I don't
do
do
you?
that. Um, so, for instance, Black Hat, that's usually when people have their roadmap, or not people, companies like Horizon AI. That's when they're going to be released. So you get to see all those products before they're released, get to try them out, ask some questions and stuff like that. Have some lunch and learns. So you get to see some of the new products coming out, and also they're going to envision sometimes they're down the future roadmap for the next year. And they're also going to take customer feedback if you have questions, integration, stuff like that. So that's kind of key for me as well. As far as DEF CON, it's more hands-on, more learning, more experiences, learning more as a niche specialist, et cetera, right? IoT, car hacking, et cetera. So you take advantage of that. And also, key things too, there's hiring managers at both conferences, right? So that's the other thing. So if you're going to go, and I tell people, I had a couple of people comment about being introverted. Try talking to people at Target, going to the gym, at just random people, Starbucks, etc. That's how you build up. That's a skill set to have, right? And having that skill set is going to allow you into some places that people can't get in, right? Different circles, different areas, and those circles have other circles that could get you in, right? Especially if you go on your own as a consultant or a business, that's avenues in, right? Because you're already known, you already have build those relationships and trust factor. So you have to take advantage of it, and you have to build up that skill. I think that's a skill that's becoming less and less having from people, especially being online, kids growing up on video games, etc. It's not like how it was when I was growing up. It's completely different nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as time goes on, more people are less they're more online and less in the real world. And then when you go in the real world, you just kind of like
People
you just don't
freeze.
interact with people. Like when I walk by people, I feel like 9 times out of 10, like I don't even like acknowledge their presence. Like it's like they're like an NPC to me, and I'm like that's like a bad habit. I need to like um you know I try to wave at people when I can, and like when you go to the cash register and check out, like actually I was at the grocery store just a little bit ago, and the two cashiers were like making fun of each other. And I was like I kind of weighed in there. I was like, what happened? Like the one cashier was like not at the cash register, and then the one girl yelled at him, and he was like, "See what I have to deal with?" I was like, "Yeah, this is why I left the cash register." So it just makes some jokes like that, like you said, just talk to people, and you build up the skill, and um, yeah, it's
Yeah,
something that I can work on more myself.
and one key thing is too, and this is a factor, and I know some people take this the wrong way, but it's like coming from box, right? I had a CISO, to me the best one ever. Her name was Lakshmi, but she knew her stuff. And you know how they say when you write pen test reports, right? They don't want the technical stuff. She wanted everything, and she would drill you if she didn't understand. I mean, she knew her stuff. So the thing with that is I tell especially guys like younger generation, I'm like, if you can't go, just I'm not saying you have to go ask the girl for a number, ask her out, but if you can't talk to women like that, how are you going to talk to a CISO that knows her stuff in front of people in a meeting? Like, say if it's an actual incident, you gotta know your stuff. You can't go in there stutter, your voice crackles, and don't know what sounds like. You know what you don't know what you're talking about, right? You have to have that confidence. You have to build that rapport with people. So that's kind of the things that I show people or try to tell people is you got to build up that skill set.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned that, so do you know what Toastmasters is?
Toastmasters?
Yeah,
I've heard of that. I've heard of that
it's
before.
it's like a public speaking organization, and they
Yeah,
have it's all over the world, and they have basically they're like little meetups, kind of like security conferences, but they're like meetups, or you can have local meetups, and all you do is you just do public speaking. That's what you do, and the goal is just to talk to a group of people just to build up your speaking skills. And I've been debating on doing that. The only reason why I haven't done it yet is because my local one is like an hour away. I'm like, man, I don't want to drive an
Oh,
hour every
yeah,
week to
especially in the
go
bad
practice
weather.
my speaking, but it would do so much for me. But man, and that hour one way, so it's like 2 hours
That's
out of my day
yeah.
just by driving. I was like, oh my god, I got so much more work to do. But I would highly recommend that because I took a speech class in college and my professor was Toastmasters. I watched him Toastmaster. I'm like, dude, this is the real deal. And yeah, that speech class in college definitely helped me out. So if you're in college and you can have the opportunity to take a speech class, take the speech class. That will help you out for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing I tell people, and especially I have experience, especially in the tech industry, and some people, I don't know why they take it the wrong way, but it's not even going down that route. The best people to get to know and network are the HR recruiters. They have friends, they have so much connections, and most of them are female. And if they trust you and you have good rapport, you build those relationships. That's even to me. That's probably even better than networking at conferences because they have the straight direct contact with the hiring managers. They know them. They go to happy hours. They go to happy hours at lunchtime to get all their stuff that they need to put out for their requisitions, et cetera. So going to building outside of that, I think it's a parallel knowing and building relationships with HR recruiters or business partners, and then also at the conferences. I mean, it's a win-win. You can't lose.
Yeah, that's really good advice for sure. And definitely need to wrote that into my. Well, I'm not looking for a job, so I don't know. What would you say for someone that's like, you're already in a position like, I feel like talking to recruiters all the time, like, would my company be like, "What? Why are you talking to a bunch of recruiters?" I don't know. That
um,
seems a little weird.
you can't look at it like that, because I've been part of layoffs. I've had a not only on the getting laid off, but I've also had to give boxes out to my friends. Being on the physical security workplace services side, you always have to have those relationships. You always have to have it ready because like, people experience it this past 4 years or 3 years with the economy, right? And all it takes is one bad incident from our end, from cybersecurity, to next day you're handing out people boxes. So you have to have your resume up to date every day. You got to build those relationships. It's not meaning you're going to look for a job every 5 seconds or every day. If you need it, they're there, right? And don't just you build those relationships to use those people. Get value back. If they need to find a role, let me ask my friend or post it on your LinkedIn, share it, right? So that's how I look at that. Always be ready and always be prepared because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that kind of goes similar with the recommendation I do with people. Like, don't get on LinkedIn when you're looking for a job. Like, that's the worst time to start posting on LinkedIn. You should be posting on LinkedIn all the time, and then when it's time to look for a job, someone's going to take notice and take action on that. That's what happened to me. Like, when I was in the military, I was making a bunch of content and doing just pretty much what I'm doing on LinkedIn now. And when I put my open to work banner up, I had an influx of people like, "Hey, I got an opportunity for you here," and the community was so good because I put in the work prior to that. So definitely, like, I think LinkedIn, like, we talk about networking, we're talking about like in person networking, but I think that LinkedIn is a great way to network. It's not in person, it's not as powerful, but I mean you can reach a lot more people and a lot faster too. I love LinkedIn.
And also too, I would say pay for I think it's like $30, the lowest one premium. Instead of blowing your money on video games or whatever, it's worth it because if you are looking for a job, you can always keep those, and they're only hidden for recruiters of what you want. So that's kind of like an ROI, right? Investment in case you need it. It's kind of like insurance, technically. If something happens, it's there, it's ready, and like you said, you're posting and being engaging. That's going to help out even more.
Yeah. All right, Paul, we're unfortunately out of time. We flew through this. So I gotta ask you the final question. Do you have any additional cybersecurity hot takes or hidden wisdom you would like to share?
Yeah, especially for people that are transitioning, don't be afraid. You're not going to get everything. Have patience if you're going into offensive security. You need to build patience. It's a lot of head banging. It's frustrating sometimes. The two things I could give you is be accountable and consistency. Show up. Don't when you're sick. Don't make excuses. For me, it's like going to the gym. show up, do your training, learn, ask questions, and it's gonna pay off in the end. That's the best advice. That's best advice you could give anyone, and it's true.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I take that same mentality, and that's one of the reasons why I'm releasing podcast episodes every week without fail, releasing videos on every week without fail, and the consistency. People notice that, and I was posted on Hack the Box. That's how I landed my current job. Like I was posted on Hack the Box. Like I do a Hack the Box machine every week, post about it, and people will take notice of that. People like if you're posting and being public about your that people definitely see that. So I yeah, great advice and uh definitely wrote that in if you're not already doing that. So Paul, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing all your insights and wisdom. Where can the audience get a hold of you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Paul Nieto, three with ones, OX3 Security on YouTube, and then also on Instagram as well.
Great. And audience, the best place to reach me is also my LinkedIn and my website, kyserclark.com. Audience, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for listening if you're on the podcast. And share the show if you haven't already with a friend. If you're getting value out of these episodes, share the show with a friend and rate it on Spotify and podcast if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully, I see you in the next episode. Until then, this is Kyser signing off.